course. It's always at an opera.
Meanwhile, Grigory Rasputin, a Siberian...
The man, the myth, the legend himself. Alright? History of Russia. I know you people love it when I have my reactions on this.
In 1881, Russian Emperor Alexander II was assassinated by left-wing terrorists in St. Petersburg. Today, the place where he was fatally wounded is marked by the magnificent Church of the Savior on Spilled Blood.
Bro, can we talk about Russian architecture for a second, bro? Like, can we just take a moment to appreciate Russian architecture? Like, look at that. Dude, I swear these onion domes are so iconic to me. Like, I've never really seen any other country do this. And I love it. I mean, if other countries have done it, that's great. But these onion domes, they're just so gorgeous to look at, bro. God, bro. Russian architecture is just top tier, hands down.
On Spilled Blood. Alexander II had been a reformer, hailed as the liberator for freeing Russia's serfs. But his son and successor, Alexander III, believed his father's reforms had unleashed dangerous forces within Russia that ultimately led to his death. As
what? That makes no sense. What? What? No. No. No, if anything, the people will support the Tsar. No. No.
As emperor, he publicly vowed to reassert autocratic rule, declaring that, in the midst of our great grief, the voice of God orders us to undertake courageously the task of ruling, with faith in the strength and rightness of autocratic power. The Tsar's secret police.
Before we continue, I heard that there's this myth, right, that Russian people just love autocracy. Russian people just love dictatorship. Oh my god, my back. Oh my god, my back. Started hurting me. But I heard this myth that Russian people love dictatorship. They love autocracy, yada yada yada. And I think I said this myself, but thinking about it, no. I say that Russian people love dictatorship and autocracy, and to be honest, I think this applies to anyone. Russian people just like a system that, you know, gets stuff done, if that makes sense, right? Like, as long as their daily lives aren't being interrupted, like they're actively being oppressed in their daily lives, then yeah, Russian people don't really care, right? Because I know that the current Russian state, the Russian Federation today, based on the information that I hear, it doesn't really bother with people and their daily lives, right? Which is why, you know, no one really feels the need to, you know, like, get rid of the current government, right? That's just something that I know, because I see people say, oh my god, oh, Russians, they just love dictatorship, they're attracted to dictatorships. Oh, that's why there'll never be a democracy. No, in fact, I have seen plenty of Russians who are they love politics, they love all of that stuff. The only reason why a lot of Russians don't really care about politics is because it's just best for them not to care about politics, right? Although you should care about politics because it impacts your life more than you think. But you know what? I'm talking too much. Let me stop talking. Let me stop talking. Let's continue.
The so-called Okranka was ordered to infiltrate Russia's many revolutionary groups. Those found guilty of plotting against the government were hanged or sent into internal exile in Siberia. Alex?
What was the point of exiling people to Siberia? Was it to try and colonize? Actually, you know what? I can't even say that, because that's what the British Empire did as well. You see, many people think that Australia, everyone knows that Australia was a colony built from prisoners and convicts and criminals. But what a lot of people don't know is that before Australia was colonized, it was America. I was trying to remember. Yeah, it was the 13 colonies before they gained independence, and it was also us in the Caribbean that Britain would just send convicts and prisoners and indentured servants. And a lot of people don't know this, because I see a lot of people say that indentured servitude was not slavery. It was. Some people were literally arrested, and their crime slash punishment would be indentured servitude, and they'll just be deported to the Caribbean, right? So yeah, I can't even ask, like, why would Russia do that to Siberia when Britain did the same exact same thing?
Alexander III was a pious man who supported the Orthodox Church and the assertion of a strong Russian national identity.
Can we talk about the Orthodox Church here for a second? I know I'm pausing a bit too much, but it's because I have a lot to say, okay? This is why I love reacting to Russian history. Honestly speaking, out of all the branches of Christianity, if I had to choose one, I would probably go with the Orthodox Church. They seem to be like the only brand of Christianity that somewhat still takes Christianity seriously, if that makes sense, right? Because Christianity today is a joke, frankly speaking. But Orthodoxy seems to be like the only branch that is like, okay, yeah. Plus, I do like the ideals of the Orthodox Church, So, yeah, I would probably lean towards the Orthodox Church. Yeah.
Russia's Jews became victims of this policy. They'd already been targeted in murderous race riots known as pogroms, after false rumors were spread that they were responsible for the assassination of the emperor.
What is with everyone? I'm blaming these people. I don't want to say the word, for everything. Is it me, or like throughout history these people have always gotten the blame for everything? It's like how Mr. Schmittler, blamed these people, right? For Germany losing World War One.
Now the government expelled 20,000 Jews from Moscow. Many who could began to leave the country. Over the next 40 years, around 2 million Jews would leave Russia, most bound for the USA. Concerned.
Yo, I didn't know Russia had that many Jews back then. I didn't know. What? Russia have that? Wow, okay.
The growing power of Germany, Russia signed an alliance with France, both sides promising military aid if the other was attacked. Sergei Witte was appointed Russia's new Minister of Finance. His reforms helped to modernize the Russian economy and encourage foreign investment, particularly from its new ally, France. French loans helped Russia to develop its industry and infrastructure. Work began on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Completed in 1916, it remains the world's longest railway line, running 5,772 miles from Moscow to Vladivostok.
And this is one of the world's, I think this is the world's, most insane mega project. I don't know what the word is, but this thing was crazy, and the fact that they were able to do this in freaking 20th century, well, early 20th century, late 19th century is even more insane. A lot of people really need to give credit where credit is due to Russia for even accomplishing something like this. And I also want to bring up the fact that there's more than enough evidence to show that Russia was industrializing. Like, I see so many people like to argue that the Tsars were never going to industrialize. That's hell not true. Russia did not need the Soviet Union, because let's remember, the Soviet Union is not Russia, right? Russia did not need the Soviet Union to industrialize. Frankly speaking, I would argue that the Soviet Union made it worse for Russia with all the people who died. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's wait, because we have like 9 minutes left.
And that was
Alexander III was succeeded by his son, Nicholas II. His coronation was marred by tragedy when 1,400 people were crushed to death at an open-air celebration in Moscow.
First impressions are so important, and this is such a horrible first impression, bro.
China granted Russia the right to build a naval base at Port Arthur. When China faced a major revolt known as the Boxer Rebellion, Russia moved troops into Manchuria under the pretext of defending Port Arthur from the rebels. This brought Russia into conflict with Japan, who also had designs over Manchuria and Korea. The Japanese made a surprise attack on Port Arthur, then defeated the Russian army at the giant Battle of Mukden. Russia's Baltic fleet, meanwhile, had sailed halfway around the world to reach the Pacific, where it was immediately annihilated at the Battle of Tsushima.
Yeah, I've heard of this. I've heard of that story. That story was horrible. Yeah, the Russo-Japanese War. I mean, it's not even Russia's fault, because Japan had home field advantage. Frankly speaking, guys, I mean, look at the size of Japan, and look at Russia, right? All of Japan's main cities are facing towards here. Russia, you know, this is mostly tundra, uninhabitable land, right? So I can't really hold Russia too much on that. Russia's geography is horrible. But yeah, this is still the most, like, embarrassing, like, just... Yeah, embarrassing are probably the right word. Most embarrassing war, in my personal opinion, in Russian history, bro. Like, this is just... Like, everything that could have gone wrong for the Russians went wrong for the Russians. Yeah, but this war is awful. Most awful war, in my personal opinion, in Russian history, bro.
Russia was left with no option but to sign a humiliating peace, brokered by US President Theodore Roosevelt.
I didn't know that.
Meanwhile, the Tsar faced another crisis much closer to home. In St. Petersburg, a strike by steel workers had escalated, and plans were made for a mass demonstration. Tens of thousands of protesters marched to the Winter Palace to present a petition to the Tsar, asking for better workers' rights and more political freedom. But instead, troops opened fire on the crowds, killing more than 100. Bloody Sunday, as it became known, led to more strikes and unrest across the country. The crew of the battleship Potemkin mutinied, killing their officers and taking control of the ship. To defuse the crisis, Nicholas II reluctantly issued the October Manifesto, drafted under the supervision of Sergei Witte.
Wait, let me see if we can read this. Hold on. muy Nikolai Voktori Voktori ugh Tsar Nikoluski Wielki Kanis Spinley whatever. I was just practicing to see how my interpretation of Russian words are, because I said this in like all of my Russian history videos. I am somewhat practicing Russian, not really in a rush to do so, but I am practicing Russian because I would like to learn how to speak Russian, because I would like to learn Russian history from the Russian perspective, because I think it'll give me a much better perspective on things. I don't really trust any type of history from the West. Obviously, you could say the same thing for Russia, obviously, like, but still, the way how I see the future is gonna be, I think that Russian is gonna be kind of important, and Chinese too, most likely. So yeah, that's what I was practicing. So freaking hell, dude, I have a 300-day streak on Duolingo. 300 Russian days. Oh my gosh, man. Hold on a minute. Look at that. 316-day streak in freaking Duolingo, bruh. Oh my gosh. It's gonna be 317 after I do it today. But yeah, not only that, but I have been using another app to learn Russian grammar. I also have this as well. 3,000 words. I bought this like almost a year ago. But I kind of regret buying that. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's like much better freaking dictionaries, especially for Russian verbs. I need a dictionary for Russian verbs, although I haven't decided to buy that yet. I mean, this is good for like nouns and whatnot, but this is kind of horrible for like verbs, because I know Russian verbs take like different forms and all that fun stuff. Like so yeah, I do kind of use that for like Russian nouns, days of the week, numbers and whatnot. But for Russian verbs, I'm probably gonna have to buy a different like dictionary that goes into much better details. Not just that, but I also have notes here from my Russian grammar lessons. I don't know if you could see that, but these are my notes right here. Again, I'm not really in a rush to learn it. To be honest with you, I probably could be a lot better at it, frankly speaking. I haven't really been drilling myself. I've just been casually, like, okay, I feel like learning some more Russian today. Let me go learn some more Russian today. And I've just been keeping my Duolingo streak. But if I was truly drilling myself, to be honest with you, I probably would have been able to most likely communicate at this point, dude. Because like I said this in one of my videos, the way how Russians speak is kind of not exactly the same way, but I noticed that it's kind of like how we speak in my country. I'm like, because when I was learning this, I was like, wait a minute, hold on a minute. If I could look at this from the perspective of how we speak, this actually makes sense. Like, and then when that like clicked in my head, like everything was just a lot more easier. Not completely, but compared to like a regular person who's just speaking like proper King's English, because we speak Beijing Creole. Not just that, but I also heard that bloody hell, I just cut myself. I also heard that Russian people, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Russian people and Scottish people are kind of like somewhat related in a way. I kind of made like one Google search just to see if that was true, and it did say that that is sort of true. That some people that migrated to Russia did come from the same people that kind of migrated to Scotland. I don't know. You could do more research on that. But I am mixed race. And my country, Barbados, is, and a lot of the Caribbean is known for its, Scottish influence and, genes, right? My surname is indeed Scottish. I don't know if that's why the way how we speak is somewhat similar, not exactly, but somewhat similar. I don't know if it's because the way how Scottish people speak, we speak like the way how Scottish people speak as well, and Irish people, right? So I don't know if it's because they're maybe related, that back before, during the migration period of European history, that when they migrated, they spoke most likely the same way. I don't know. We don't know. That period is very blank, I don't know if it's because of that, when those people who eventually, settled down in, because that Google search said that they settled down in what's now southern Russia. I think that's like Ukraine, Azov area, Volgorod, area. I think it was talking about that area. So I don't know if they simply spoke the same before they migrated into their respective regions and, developed their own unique languages. But when they developed their own unique languages, they still kind of kept that, similarity, like the way how sentences are spoken and whatnot. I don't know. Either ways, I'm not complaining because it makes my Russian learning a lot more easier to deal with. Frankly speaking, I am yapping a lot. I'm yapping a lot. Oh my gosh. Let's continue.
Promised an elected assembly and new political rights, including freedom of speech, and was welcomed by most moderates. Russia's first constitution was drafted the next year. For the first time, the Tsar would share power with an elected assembly, the State Duma, though the Tsar had the right to veto its legislation and dissolve it at any time.
Alright, so I'm pretty sure that can't the monarchy of the UK do that as well? I think they can. I'm pretty sure they can. I'm pretty sure, because I don't know what it's like in the other Commonwealth realms, but I'm pretty sure in the UK they can do that. I'm not too sure, but if I am correct, yeah, I'm just kind of like how the UK was. No, still is. Because a lot of people have this misconception that the UK monarch, and I should really say the Commonwealth realms, which used to be called dominions before they changed the name to sound more sugar-coated. But the Commonwealth realms, which my country used to be a Commonwealth realm until 3 years ago, that, oh yeah, the monarch doesn't have power. That's not true. They're just simply practice to not abuse power, right? So let's continue.
Sergei Witte finally lost the Tsar's confidence and was dismissed. The Tsar's new Prime Minister, Stolypin,
Yeah. The monarch can also do this as well, right? I'm pretty sure the monarch can dismiss prime minister. I think I could be wrong about that, because I remember back when was it Tuvalu? I think it was Tuvalu, when the prime minister was trying to assert power, trying to consolidate power, and I think he was trying to turn the country into like a dictatorship or something. And the Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth, who's dead, the late Queen Elizabeth looked at him. I was like, no, you're dismissed. And because of that, all of that was thwarted, or all of his ideas were thwarted, like thrown out the window, right? So I don't know. I really have to look into how that works. But yeah, Tuvalu. You probably don't know what that country is. It's a very small country, but it's still it still holds the monarchy. So it's a Commonwealth realm as well.
Introduced land reforms to help the peasants, while dealing severely with Russia's would-be revolutionaries, so much so that the hangman's noose got a new nickname, Stolypin's necktie. But having survived several attempts on his life, Stolypin was shot and killed by an assassin at the Kiev Opera House.
Of course. It's always at an opera.
Meanwhile, Grigory Rasputin, a Siberian
The man, the myth, the legend himself.
faith healer, had joined the imperial family's inner circle, thanks to his unique ability to ease the suffering of the Tsar's hemophiliac son, Alexei. Despite sporadic acts of terrorism, Russia now had the fastest growing economy in Europe.
That's... This is why I was saying that Russia didn't need the Soviet Union. But hold on.
Cultural and industrial output were on the rise. Most ordinary Russians remained loyal to the Tsar and his family. Russia's future seemed bright.
World War One. Okay, dude. Germany predicted that if they didn't start a war with Russia by 1917, Russia would be the unstoppable force in Europe. Nobody wouldn't be able to challenge Russia in Europe. So Germany wanted to start a war with Russia to try and stop it from becoming that dominant force. This is why I always tell people, I don't care what you say. Russia did not need the Soviet Union to industrialize because Russia was already on the right path. And by the time the Soviet Union came, they basically took all the policies that the Russian Empire was doing anyways that was already going well, and they basically took credit for that. It was ridiculous, okay? Freaking hell. And you know what? Germany, although they lost World War One, when you really think about it, they got their goal in a way, right? Because they stopped Russia, okay? It's basically like America today. America doesn't want to see Russia, getting too strong, too dominant. So America is trying to, put a roadblock. It's trying to hamper Russia, right? Just how Germany needed to start a war with Russia to stop Russia from getting too powerful and getting too dominant. Oh my gosh, dude. I swear to you. I sound a bit annoyed. I am, because I just see it everywhere where I see everyone bash the Russian Empire. I'm like, why are you bashing the Russian Empire? They were on the right track. They just didn't get the time to freaking complete the process because the whole World War One happened, which Germany wanted to start against Russia in the first place to stop Russia, and then the whole Bolshevik Revolution happened, which was also influenced by Germany. Whatever. Let's continue. I'm yapping too much.
In 1914, in Sarajevo, a Slav nationalist assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, sparking a European crisis.
Yo, I just saw was it a TikTok post or Instagram post like yesterday where it was talking about Franz Ferdinand's last words, and it was very interesting because it really humanized them for me, because someone said that he was trying to comfort his wife. He wasn't even focusing on the fact that he got shot. He was trying to comfort his wife, who also got shot, telling her to think about the children, to try and bear through it because the children need you. I'm like, damn, that's actually a lot more sad. Really sad. know that was in a perspective like that.
When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, Emperor Nicholas ordered the Russian army to mobilize, to show his support for a fellow Slav nation. Austria-Hungary's ally, Germany, saw Russian mobilization as a threat and declared war. Europe's network of alliances came into effect, and soon all the major powers were marching to war. World War I had begun. Russia
The end of the Russian Empire. The end of the Russian Empire. The thing that Germany wanted. I mean, Epic History TV, you say that Germany just declared war because Russia's mobile. I mean, everyone knows, and this video is quite old, so I'm not going to hold Epic History TV much on that. But everyone knows that everyone had their own goals in mind for World War One. Okay, like,
experienced a wave of patriotic fervor. The capital, St. Petersburg, was even renamed Petrograd to sound less German.
And you want to know what is funny? Oh my gosh, dude, I might trigger someone by saying this, but England also, and I say England because English people are Germans. That's where they came from. Okay, like, take a pure English person without any mixed DNA. Take a pure English person, they could trace their DNA back to what's now Germany, Denmark. Basically, they're Germanic, right? But English people, like, they covered, like, they covered up their, it's wild to me how much the freaking royal family covered that up, bro. And the whole government, like, they completely just painted over all their German roots. That, oh my gosh, dude. It's wild. Like, I watched a whole bunch of videos on that. I'm like, what the heck? Like, freaking the royal family is still. Not only that, but that's literally why Tsar Nicholas, the Kaiser of Germany, and the King of England were all related. Because, the royal family is German, right? They have like 90% German blood in them. Obviously, because English people are Germans. But I do know that Russia kind of had German influence because Catherine the Great. But it's insane how they covered all of that up, dude. And I heard that a lot of the German royals that also had claimant to the royal family of England, like, they were given a choice, like, you either side with us, or you're basically gonna get expelled and lose all your titles and whatnot. It was wild. Anyways, that's a whole different video. This is about Russia, but I'm just saying, that's kind of crazy to think about, though, because if Russia had stayed a monarchy, right, that would have mean that Russia would technically. Even now, the Romanovs are dead, though, so no one would have a claim. But if the Romanovs were still alive, technically speaking, they would have a claim to the throne of my country. Even though it's a republic, it can still transform back into a monarchy, right? That's insane to think when you think about it. Because I know that when the families are, like, interbreeding, they do have claim to the throne if there's, like, no one else around. So that's kind of crazy to think. Oh my gosh, that if the Romanovs of Russia was still alive, they would have a claim to the throne of my country. Oh my gosh, and they would have a claim to the throne of all the Commonwealth realms. Quite frankly, like, if a scenario happens where all the royals just suddenly died or something, like, it's something crazy like that. But still, though, that's so crazy to think. All right, I'm like yapping too much again.
An early Russian advance into East Prussia ended with heavy defeats at Tannenberg and the Masurian Lakes. There was greater success against Austria-Hungary, but that too came at a high price. Russian losses forced the army to make a general retreat in 1915. In 1916, Russia's Brusilov offensive against Austro-Hungarian forces was one of the most successful Allied attacks of the war. But losses were so heavy that the Russian army was unable to launch any more major operations.
I actually reacted to Eastern Front World War One. Great video. Go check out my reaction on that. I actually did talk about that there, so I won't really talk about that much here.
In Petrograd, Rasputin, whose alleged influence over the Tsar's family was despised by certain Russian aristocrats, was murdered, possibly with the help of British agents.
Wait, what? Really? What? No, that is something that I do. Okay.
The war put intolerable strains on Russia. At the front, losses were enormous, while in the cities, economic mismanagement led to rising prices and food shortages. In Petrograd, the workers' frustration led to strikes and demonstrations. Troops ordered to disperse the crowds refused and joined the protesters instead. The government had lost control of the capital. On board the imperial train at Pskov, senior politicians and generals told the emperor he must abdicate, or Russia would descend into anarchy and lose the war. Nicholas accepted their advice and renounced the throne in favor of his brother, Grand Duke Michael, who effectively declined the offer.
Damn.
400 years of Romanov rule were at an end. Russia was now a republic. A provisional government took power, but could not halt Russia's slide into economic and military chaos. Workers, soldiers and peasants elected their own councils, known as Soviets.
Wait a minute. Whatever. I'm not
The
getting
Petrograd Soviet was so powerful, it was effectively a rival government, especially as discontent with the provisional government continued to grow. The Bolsheviks, under Vladimir Lenin, attracted growing support, with their radical proposals for an immediate end to the war, the redistribution of land, and transfer of power to the Soviets.
Let's talk about the Soviets. So, people have this misconception that the Russian people supported the Soviets. They only supported them because they just wanted the war to end, not really for their ideals. Guys, if you're an American, because I have an American audience that watches me, please understand that. Please understand that the people supported the Soviets not because they cared about their ideals. They just wanted the war to end. Okay? Or most.
In October, they launched a coup, masterminded by Leon Trotsky. Bolshevik Red Guards stormed the Winter Palace.
This coup should have failed. Alexander Kerensky was such a hated leader that when he sent out messages, was it a radio? I don't know what the heck they used to send out messages, but I know he did send out messages for the troops and soldiers to help put down the coup, and nobody responded. I said this in one of my, was it my Kolchak? I think it was my Kolchak. If you haven't checked out my Kolchak reaction, go check it out. But yeah, this should have failed. The Bolsheviks should have never taken power. It's a miracle how they even took power. It was just pure luck.
Where the provisional government met and arrested its members. Lenin and the Bolsheviks were now in charge. Russia had been thrown upon a bold and dangerous course. Under a Marxist-inspired revolutionary party, it would now seek to create the world's first communist state. But first, it would have to survive the chaos and slaughter of one of history's bloodiest civil wars.
The Russian Civil War. The conflict that really made me interested in Russian history, man. Look, man, if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed and you like what I have to say, man, make sure you subscribe, because, you know, I always have a lot to say about a lot of historical topics and whatnot, you know. If you have any videos that, you know, I would love to talk about, I would love to discuss about / react to, do comment it down below in my comments. Make sure to like the video so that the YouTube algorithm sees that, you know, you do like my videos, and it, you know, keeps my videos on the algorithm. Thank you for watching, man. Stay tuned and goodbye.